Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. As you can see, I'm doing something very different today. I have a guest speaker on, and her name is Ola Wolny. She is an astrologer, esoteric teacher. She also hosts retreats in Norway, which is so cool. And she's a teacher of the feminine mysteries, and this is something that I am so interested in. I was just telling her that I have seen all of her talks, all of her lectures. One thing that really made me want to do this interview and really kind of sparked something in me was I was watching Ola's recent lecture. This was on the Gnostic conference, and this was like a live lecture. You guys can see it on her YouTube channel, and I'll link this lecture actually below. So it was really cool because in this lecture, I saw that Ola was talking about these different colored women. So these are women who are basically symbols of feminine alchemy, and this is something that I have researched myself, and I don't often hear a lot of people talking about it. So when I heard, like, when I saw you talking about like the blue woman with the white on her head, I was like, okay, so there's more people out there who are seeing these patterns in art, and you can even see these patterns in like film, things like that. And it is in my beliefs that these symbols that we see, these like different colored women, there's also different colored men that I see as well. These are kind of like a physical manifestation of these kind of higher forms and these higher impulses. So I think it's so cool that you are talking about this kind of physical proof that we see on the physical plane of the spiritual world. I just find that so cool. So yeah, I was wondering, to kind of kick this off, if you would be willing to go a little deeper into those different colored women and kind of what they represent. So I just find it so interesting.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate the invitation. It's absolute pleasure. I absolutely bless an opportunity for being invited. I don't have a channel. I choose not to have my own channel. So this is a blessing whenever somebody wishes to listen to anything that I have to say. So absolutely, thank you so much for having me on. And well, big topic. The as I refer to it, feminine alchemy. Perhaps just a quick intro. What is it? What is feminine alchemy, and why the colors that you've mentioned, and the link to a woman? Where does that even come from? Feminine alchemy, I think that probably the easiest to explain. This is not any kind of concept. This is not any school or philosophy to be followed. With feminine alchemy, we are going back very much to the basic, going back to our nature, to our essence as women. And alchemy describes the full capacity of a woman, of our capabilities as a function of our hormonal system, full capacity of our hormonal system, which most of the women do not operate out of full capacity of their hormonal system. It's been sort of numbed down to a pretty small sort of part of what we normally should and would have access to, and it is a bit of an extension of the DNA not being fully active either. And I've just done a webinar on that one, so I covered that extensively. So if anybody's interested in pursuing that any deeper, please do have a look. But alchemy in a woman is taking us back to abilities of a woman when it comes to creation. And when I say creation, I don't mean creativity, I mean creation, procreation, ability of a woman to birth, materialize into this reality, not just children. Giving birth to children is just one of the examples, or one of the ways in which this can manifest. We are also talking about ability to feed. And again, not only children, not only in that context. If I may just make a quick explanation here, the traditions, fairy tales talking about the land of milk and honey. The milk and honey is not accidental, and of course, milk linked very much to the feeding of a woman. Milky Way. If you look into mythology, Milky Way was supposedly the result of Hera's breast milk being spilled. So what is really in there, right? Are these just stories? No, they're not. There is a deep symbolic, and very often not just symbolic, meaning in these stories, and this is precisely the way our heritage has been captured. So a woman, by design, we as women are created to fill this realm with blessings, to fill this realm with joy, happiness, love, abundance, prosperity. This is our natural capacity. This is women as architects of the golden age. But unfortunately, we know, or probably a lot of people know, that something happened here in this realm a long time ago, that we have been enslaved in a sense. Some of that process, I think, we are enabling by participation, but nevertheless, this is the result. We have been slightly cut off from these beautiful abilities, and this is the result. The world is not really the golden age world anymore. So feminine alchemy is teaching women how to bring that back, how to reactivate it, and that's very much what I have been focusing on in the past years. And back to your question, so in a context of those colors, alchemy in a woman operates through three different aspects: the virgin, the mother or creator, and the witch. And this is where the three colors come in. And I would say that it is not to describe as in the color describes the woman. It is that the color is linked to the alchemical aspect, and there is a sort of story as to why. And of course, the white and actually blue as well, they are linked to the aspect of a virgin, that purity. But that's not the only reason why it is white. The color white is linked to the connection to the upper kingdom in alchemy. So, and the upper kingdom is understood as the galactic womb, as the connection with the stars, connection with Venus, with the sun. So if you look up at the night sky, we kind of see the diamonds, we see the white sort of energy, if you like. So the whiteness is actually linked to the true meaning of a woman who is receiving the Holy Spirit. What is the true Holy Spirit, right? Which is later taken over in religions and representing, something totally different, with the masculine God showing up. Whereas the white aspect of a virgin is linked to the fact that, first of all, virgin has nothing to do with a sort of physiological state. This is not about a girl who has never had any sexual contacts. It is a alchemical term, and that is also that's the way in which it is used in the Bible. So Virgin Mary has nothing to do with the fact that she would have been physiologically a virgin. It's a reference to the alchemical aspects, which comes with certain functions. That is why Virgin Mary is called the Virgin. So that's the color white. Then we have the color red, which is linked to the aspect of a mother or creator. And of course, the redness or scarlet comes from the menstrual blood, because ultimately menstrual blood is linked to life. This is life. This is the materialization of the Holy Ghost into, so the light, the white light gets materialized into blood, and that becomes red. So that's where the white color of in a virgin aspect moves into the red color in a mother aspect. And mother aspect is, and of course, mother not as in just children, giving birth to children, absolutely not. This is an alchemical aspect in a context of mother of the universe, mother as in materialization of certain energies, because a woman is a portal. So we are able to bring in certain energies through that portal into this realm. That is us being mothers. So the menstrual blood plays a critical role in this process of materialization and giving birth. This is a woman as the one who gives birth and feeds. And finally, color black, which is linked to the aspect of a witch, aspect of a woman as a shaman. And that blackness, which you can probably see in fairy tales or legends, where the old women, the witches, so-called witches, would be very often dressed in black. They would have sort of black hoodies on their heads very often. But the witches are portrayed in black. Why? These aspects are not age-related. They are alchemical aspects. However, women at different stages of their life would be the sort of ultimate representation, embodiment of each of these aspects, but not as to that a woman is only in a certain aspect by age. That it's not how it works. So a witch, so women who are post-menopause, that's what we refer to as a woman, as a shaman, as a witch. It's actually, I would argue, the most powerful aspect in alchemy.
Yeah, definitely. I wish I was a witch now.
Well, you are a witch, because you have access to all those three. You need to, as a woman, in order for alchemy to even happen, we need to have access to all three aspects. However, we just are not the embodiment, right? So women who still menstruate will be the embodiment of the mother/creator. But the women post-menopause, they become the embodiment of a shaman, of a witch, of that aspect. So in fairy tales, they are portrayed wearing black. Why? Because that aspect, that black aspect, is linked to the ability for a woman, if we were to take it into the quantum physics language, to connect to the field of unlimited potential, that black hole from which everything comes, that womb, that galactic womb, that earth womb from which she's able to draw. And of course, we know how that blackness look like. So a woman who is able to transcend that blackness, alchemy, to transcend, to go into blackness, into that chem, which is black in Egyptian, that void, that darkness, that 0-point field, effectively what we're talking about. So these are not some kind of concepts that are ripped from reality. I'm an engineer by background, so there is a very strong quantum physics link, and I like to bridge between two. I like to bridge the science with the alchemical more as esoteric metaphysical aspects, but the science is very much there. And you know, the interesting thing is that the science is only catching up right now with certain aspects, whereas our ancestors and our grandmothers who had no idea about quantum physics were so deeply aware of these processes and beautifully involved in them. And of course, that wisdom kind of got lost over time. But that black aspect that's where the color comes from, right? This is where that comes from. A woman as a shaman, woman as a witch transmutes naturally, not by doing some kind of weird rituals or ceremonies. No, it is part of our being, just like it is part of our being for a woman who is pregnant to be naturally caring for that child, for that life growing inside of her, without making any rituals, without engaging into any kind of weird practices. It is a natural process. We just unfortunately lost that wisdom and that knowledge that there is so much more. There is such a wider spectrum of our capacities, our capabilities, that we also should be naturally accessing. But that is that part of that alchemy that became a little bit interrupted, a little bit. We've lost that access. So this is the time to bring it back.
Mm-hmm. And I just find it so interesting and so kind of confirming that when you look at art or like the decisions people make, the clothing people wear, like it's almost like it's in the back of their mind somewhere. It's like this ancient like memory.
Right. And especially when you look, it's a very good point, because when you look at the artwork, iconography from hundreds and hundreds years ago, right? The back to the Renaissance, for example, or even later or earlier. When you look at the paintings, specifically portrayal of, for example, Virgin Mary or Mary Magdalene, they are never portrayed in the same way. The outfits are always different colors. Why? Because the outfits are capturing that very message, alchemical message. So Mary Magdalene will be very often shown wearing a red sort of gown or something red, and a green cloak or something green as well. But the redness will be there. The red will be there, not white and not black, but the red, because she is the embodiment of the mother aspect. Why? Because she was obviously with a child, with Jesus. She's the mother of a child with Jesus. So all that story of her being just a prostitute, that's a big lie, right, of the church. And in the same way, Virgin Mary portrayed in white and blue, never in red. So there is a secret language of signs and symbols sort of weaved into the artwork and iconography, which specifically is revealing so much more. Also, what I would like to probably draw your attention to is why very often Mary Magdalene is portrayed with red hair. So a woman with red hair living in that geography, right, doesn't really make sense. A lot of people would say that this is weird, this is, or maybe we should look into something because the people have red hair at the time in that area. That is, again, that's another symbol. This is alchemical symbols. Once you understand alchemy, you're able to really see in a lot of artwork, in those paintings, you can see so much more. You can see so much more symbology and that kind of smuggled true message. So the color of the hair, Mary Magdalene, red, but it's actually the color is linked to the fact that she has been literally charged up with the energies of Venus, Sun, and the stars. This is the triplicity that very often women capture by sort of organizing our hair into a braid, which is, of course,
that's interesting. Like 3. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely symbolic of the DNA.
I
So
almost put a braid in my hair today.
you see,
And I took it out.
but your hair is red, right? So
It
here,
is, yeah.
here we
And
have
I
that.
love like Mary Magdalene. I'm just so obsessed with all of that.
Yeah. So never an accident. And if you look into the folklore of many cultures, if you look to the Incas, the Slavic culture, of course, for us, if you look to our land, anywhere, women would very often have either two or one braid, right, in the hair, and that is very, very symbolic, very, very special, showing exactly the fact that this is the DNA. They know the secret of the DNA. They know the secret. You know, we have the science, right, discovering and showing certain things under the microscope in the last 70 years, whereas in folklore we have certain things captured all the way back thousands and thousands of years. Because, for example, if you even look to the Mediterranean culture, and we have the figures of women being found in Crete, Greece, Italy, holding serpents, women holding serpents, right? The woman and the serpent, and that context has always been there. Serpent coming down the tree in Eden to talk to Eve. Why not to Adam? I mean, wasn't Adam the man of the house, right, in the patriarchal kind of religion? So why is the snake talking to a woman? Because the snake represents something, the serpent represents something, and this is that DNA activation. There's a little bit more into that, but that's the women, the colors. There is a very deep meaning behind it, and those that were obviously initiated into these mysteries, those things were back in a day when we're talking Renaissance. We're talking the time of the before Renaissance. Obviously, there was a heavy censorship. So for cultivating feminine mysteries, you would be burnt at the stake. And of course, this is why the so-called witches were burnt at the stake, because they were a threat to the establishment. When I say witches, okay, I do not mean women engaging, or even men engaging in some kind of black magic. That is not what the alchemical aspect of a witch means. It's very benevolent. It is to do with instant transformation of low vibrational energies. This is the true meaning of alchemy: transformation of lead into gold, but not in a sense of chemistry or the elements, but in a sense of lead being lower vibrational emotions or energies, fear, hate, guilt, shame, etc., into gold, higher vibrational energies, prosperity, happiness, joy, bliss, love. That's what women naturally would do, and not by some kind of intention, but as a natural function of how we are constructed. Imagine that's our nature. How many women think about that?
Mm-hmm. I know that and that's also something I wanted to ask on that note. I feel like a lot of these roles of women, or the different symbols of alchemy, have been definitely distorted, definitely kind of turned on its head. And you mentioned how back in like the medieval times, when witches were just seen as these like evil figures. I'm wondering if there are any examples, maybe like modern examples that we come across now that are kind of, I don't know, tricking us, because I feel like there are definitely
that they are tricking us, you say?
Yeah, like kind of flipping these roles like on their head, as if a woman who's getting older.
That's an amazing question, and that's an amazing topic, because absolutely they're doing it all the time. And if you look to the last 100 years, right, we mind you, each of these aspects also corresponds to certain behaviors or certain things that a girl or a woman would be taught by her mom, by her parents, and that involved obviously self-respect, self-love, all the things that actually, these days it's quite difficult to come out of a home, right, from your childhood, having all these good values. No, all of us come out traumatized, and we spend the next 20 years or 30 or more trying to kind of come out of that. But the back in the day, certain things would have been instilled in those children, and specifically, I think that when we look in sort of throughout the past 2,000-3,000 years, the kind of the key role or the key way to target a woman would have been to kind of put a woman into a sacrifice type of position, right? So women didn't have any rights. Women didn't really have the possibility to own anything, to decide about themselves. There was this whole subservience. There was this whole fear-based sort of dynamic going on. So a woman was kind of pushed into the sacrifice sort of place. And then we come into the sort of late 19th, early 20th century, and we have the emancipation. So we have all these movements and women obviously fighting for their rights, kind of trying to come out of that oppression and manage. And what happens? Well, Matrix creates a new trap for that, because now women are no longer so easily controllable and influenced. So let's push that all the way to the other side, which is let's make women angry, let's make women masculine, let's make women in competition with men and with each other, which is also, it's like from one side of the spectrum to the other. So these and then if you look to obviously to the movies, to the entertainment industry, there is this whole push and narrative to make a woman to sort of convince a woman that our liberation has something to do with sexual liberation, and that sexual liberation is effectively promiscuity. It's a culture where a woman doesn't have any respect for self anymore. It's a culture which is kind of pushing upon us that the more we undress, right, the more liberated and free and powerful we are. I mean, how embarrassing.
You feel more free with no clothes.
Absolutely. And women believe that, women believe that our femininity has something to do with overt sexuality and with nudity, as if that is something to do with freedom. I mean, that's embarrassing. And of course, please do not misunderstand me. I am not at all into any kind of Muslim sort of approach, right? Because that went in yet another direction. But I'm just saying that to navigate currently and sort of for women to find their way into that alchemy is on purpose very, very difficult, because the establishment, they knew exactly, the system knew what's going on. The system knows all the time they need to create certain conditions, they need to create an agenda, right, to make sure that women find it very difficult to return to that essence. Why? Because women returning to that essence is the end of the matrix, is the end of this world, is the end of the reign of these psychopaths. So it is really not in their interest to create a world in which women are in peace and quiet and safety, to be able to naturally step back into that full capacity. So we are constantly distracted. We are constantly brainwashed to believe that things such as perfection is the way to go. Things such as proving ourselves, right? Women who are the boss babes, trying to kind of compete and go and have a career. And I'm not saying do not have a career, because I come from oil and gas myself. So we've all been there. We've all been there and we've all done that. The point is, our essence is not to be in that masculine energy. I'm not saying do not have a career, but do have a career where you are not pushing yourself, where you are not competing, where you are a creator, where you are allowing that true passion, that true expression of the soul to flow. And quite frankly, it wasn't flowing for me in oil and gas. I mean, let's face it. So, you know, being
I've had so many circumstances like that too, where I'm 34 now, and when I was 27 or 26, I worked at this very like high octane, high speed restaurant because my little sister worked at a restaurant. It was just kind of something that I thought we were supposed to do. And I totally just tired myself out. I got sick. I actually had to quit.
Exactly.
Just because I think there's a lot of women out there who, especially the very sensitive ones who are like very sensitive to energies. When I see one of those girls in one of those jobs, I'm like, you shouldn't be here.
And you see, this is the thing. A lot of these jobs we've been, because we get programmed since we are small to be overachievers, right? To be really pushing the envelope, to be giving 150% of us into everything, right? Because that is the only way, that is the right way. And we are also, since children, we are programmed to seek reassurance and to seek validation, to seek them in external sources, to seek them from a boss, right? To seek them at a workplace, to think that if we are having a fabulous career, then we are accepted, then we are worth something. You know what? Part of my, I mean, I don't mean to bore you with my personal details, but that was
I like knowing this stuff about people, especially people who are into spirituality, because I want to know what was the thing that made like, okay, this world is crazy. There has to be more.
In my case, you know, I was in oil and gas for well over a decade, and before that I was in telecoms for a sort of 2-3 years, and I got to a point where within oil and gas, and I'm talking like high operational jobs, management jobs. These are not some kind of support roles that you're just kind of, you know, under the radar surviving. No, these are like high pressure environment type of jobs. And I got to a point where kind of due to circumstances, it was pretty clear that it was not sustainable for me to stay there, and I had to go through. I mean, I had to. It just became what it became, which is a time for me to face the fact that I do not know who I am without my job title. I do not know who I am without my business card. Who am I? Do I have any value when to myself, even not to even anyone else, but what am I gonna say to myself when my job is taken away from me, my title is taken away from me? So who am I? And that was a major identity crisis that I went through, and it was extremely uncomfortable. It was very difficult because I felt worthless. But that's the programming. This is the program. This is the tower moment. Okay, this is the tower moment. This is your whole life falling apart, and the whole construct of what you have been taught and told about this world and about yourself is falling apart. And I think that kind of moment is something that many people, many women went through or are going through perhaps these days. And I think that when it happened to me, I wasn't obviously in the same place as I am today, so I was desperately trying to crawl back in there and maybe even, you know, regain that position. And there was absolutely no going back. That I could forget that. But only later, only after the fact, I realized what had happened to me. You know, in the middle of it, it was like I was hit like a deer in headlights. I was absolutely, it was out of control. It was a terrible experience. But this is what happens when you are kind of waking up to the illusion, right? Waking up from that matrix, waking up to see that you are just a hamster on a wheel, and everything that you've ever thought and believed is a lie. Not a nice process, but a lot of women, I think, need to go through that and realize that the life that has been marketed to us as the right one, right? This is what happiness looks like. This is what success looks like. This is the prestige and the status. That's just such a lie. That's just such a deception. And if you really want to pursue the true happiness, I mean, the first step, you're gonna have to be honest with yourself. You're gonna have to step out of that. And then liberation starts.
Yeah. And I will even say that, even because I feel like there's this big movement of this trad wife. I don't know if you've seen stuff like that. It's like this traditional wife who, it's very much like a more conservative figure.
Yeah.
And to me, that is like the same as being in a high-powered, like being like a CEO or being in like working for a corporation. Yeah. So
I mean, absolutely, because you see, that is just a flip side. That is just the other side of the same coin, which is still putting women into subservient role towards men, which is still that echo very much of that patriarchy above women, right? So whenever I hear, and unfortunately I hear it a lot because it's just now everywhere, this whole nonsense of women needing to submit to a man because a man is the leader and a woman, I mean, that is precisely the opposite of what these alchemical teachings would tell you. Alchemical teachings are not sort of trying to put a woman above anyone else. It's not about that, but they are trying to remind people about that full capacity of a woman, and a woman having that spiritual connection due to our, not just spiritual connection, but I would say that spiritual power, which actually, as a result of our physical, hormonal construct, is thousandfold stronger than that of a man, because that's just how we are constructed. Okay, a man is not bringing children into this world. A man is not bringing a soul into this world because they are not constructed for that, but we are. And that's a blessing, but that's a duty as well for a woman, and it just happens to come with the whole myriad of other abilities. And so in that context, you know, a woman is never subservient, should never be put in any subservient position, and should never be made to serve, should never be made to take care of a man because he's some kind of provider. Well, a woman is the one who, just by our design, secures prosperity, because everything flows through her. What happens in the Celtic legends when the King Arthur and his court, his men, start raping the well maidens? The land becomes barren, the wells dry up. It's a symbolic language to say that prosperity is over. That fertility of the land that manifests obviously in that prosperity, in abundance of the inhabitants, that's over. That's over when you start doing something against a woman, when you start abusing a woman, when you start disrespecting and not recognizing a woman for all these qualities, and cherishing, right? This is about reverence to the feminine, and all traditions of the old days had reverence to the feminine written into them, not because women were, you know, ruling, but because of the understanding of what women are capable to do, and how much of that prosperity of the land, prosperity of the community is due to women and our abilities. And this is, you know, when I talk about it, a lot of people, maybe mostly men, they get a little bit like, what sort of nonsense is that? Well, I'm sorry, but that's just deep patriarchy that has happened to us over a long time. And, you know, it's we have taken for granted, we have accepted openly that men are always elevated. And when a woman, when we are trying to kind of meet the men up there, then that is frowned upon, right? That is kind of a little bit, what are you talking about? Where do you think you're going, right? That's the patriarchy. So are we awakened or not?
And I always think about this, it's kind of silly, but I think about how I think women are just so creative and we're just so good at creating beautiful things. If you even look at a woman's handwriting, it's just usually really nice, versus a man. But obviously I love men and stuff. But yeah, so I definitely think that that's been just totally turned on its head. Like women, we create, like you said, with the creatrix, we create. With those three, the maiden, the creatrix and the witch, where do you see them kind of streaming from? And feel free to get kind of abstract and the quantum physics and stuff if you want to. Where do you see the source of those impulses?
Good question. And you see, again, everything, like you said before, everything in this realm has been turned on its head. It's been flipped around. So when we look into religions, we have the God Father, right? We have the God male creator. And several thousand years ago, they would have laughed and they wouldn't in disbelief because people back in the day, and I'm not making this up, this is archaeology, this is history, confirming that before patriarchy we absolutely had a culture of reverence to the feminine. So this is a fake construct that has been introduced here to sort of shift attention towards the males. And so females as in women, and not just women. The if you think about the ancient teachings, there's always the motive or the symbol of a tree of life. And in esoteric teachings, the tree of life is associated with the woman. If you know alchemical teachings, a woman is the tree of life. This is why the tree of life as a symbol shows up everywhere. And the reason I mentioned that the religion has flipped everything around, that it's the God, it's the male that is the creator, that's not true. All the cultures in the past knew that creation comes from a woman. Actually, the highest form of creation is parthenogenetic, which means without participation of a male. And when you look to the original translation of the texts that are talking about creation, whether that's the Kabbalistic text, whether that's the Bible even, that creation is feminine. It's feminine. The original translation is feminine. It is not masculine. It is not some kind of male god that created. It is feminine creation. So if you like, we should replace, in a sense, okay, I'm not trying to replace the male god with a female goddess, but I'm just trying to say that the original creative force in the universe has a feminine association, and women are fractals of that creative force, which is feminine. And the tree of life, the symbol of a tree of life, the concept of a tree of life is effectively representing a woman and our energetic, spiritual, physical connection to the upper kingdom, as it is referred to in mythology, and the lower kingdom, the upper kingdom being the Milky Way galaxy center. So we have the black hole. This is why the Great Rift, if anybody knows, is very often not only just present in myths and old stories, but also a lot of old sites are specifically aligned with sort of whatever they represented, they are specifically aligned towards the constellations and the stars around the Great Rift. So we have Cygnus, the Swan, we have obviously Vega, and these stars. They are very, very important, right? In that context, we have the whole sort of myriad of stars around Scorpio, Sagittarius, and up towards the constellation of Cygnus. That's what the Great Rift is. Why was it so important? Because that was seen as the entrance to the womb, the galactic womb. So a woman is reaching out, is connected to that, to the depths of the womb, galactic womb. So remember, we have the black aspect of a witch, and also a woman is connected down into the womb of the earth. So we are grounded into the earth while extending like a tree into the galactic womb. So that is. I would like you to imagine that as a connection with an umbilical cord. That's also, you can find that in the teachings from the East, from India, for example. But not only, these are also indigenous people's teachings, talking about us being, not just women, but us being sort of connected by an energetic cord up to the galactic womb and down into the earth womb. So sort of two umbilical cords extending. And why do I want to stress that let's look at it as an umbilical cord? Because I think this is the easier way for people to understand how natural certain processes within alchemy are. So when you are pregnant as a woman with a child, everything, all processes are naturally happening within you, and that child receives all that it needs through that umbilical cord without you ever needing to think about it, because that is the law of love, right? That's the biology of unconditional love, where a woman as a creator is a fractal of that kind of creative, beautiful, unconditional love power, force in this universe. And just the same way, we should be connected to that place of unlimited potential and grounded into this realm, which is precisely what the ancient teachings are telling us. The problem is we have lost these connections and we don't even know how to restore them. So this is what I share in my webinars. This is what I share in my consultations, and of course I do the, like you mentioned before, I do the events, the getaways in the Arctic, because we have a very, very special place here. So I go deeper into these mysteries, and I help women reconnect that so that they can absolutely this is not only a service to self, okay? This is a service to the whole planet. Women, the age of Aquarius, the true nature of the age of Aquarius is the return of an alchemical woman. Aquarius is not a man, it's a woman holding the pitcher, pouring the water of life. So this is it's a signal for all of us that the cosmic context, the cosmic cycles are telling us that the time is now. The prophecies are fulfilling for the return of an alchemical woman, for return of all of us back into our alchemy.
No, I'm totally in agreement.
On board.
What?
Totally on board.
Yeah, sounds good to me. And I love the idea of us being connected to both that kind of lower, like the earth kind of field, and then also at the same time being connected to this infinite kind of potential. Because I find in the spiritual community, people will say, oh, women are void and men are light, like period, end of story. And to me, no, women are, and everyone is definitely connected to, like, automatically connected to this higher self, this like pure beauty that is this like feminine creator. So this feminine creative energy. So I find that really, really cool. So I think we're out of time. Did you want to talk about your most recent webinar really quickly?
To probably reiterate, if anyone is interested in understanding that kind of science aspects of alchemy, to understand deeper that these are not some kind of esoteric teachings that are ungrounded in anything, right? Just some kind of stories from the past. No, it is not. So feel free to check out my webinar, Key to Unlocking Feminine Alchemy. It's my recent webinar. And I'm also working on an ebook that I will go into the true mystery of the menstrual cycle and menopause, so that women truly can understand how amazing our inner world and outer world is, and so that function that we have. Why are we such a threat to the establishment? Not by obviously that kind of masculine aspect, but by that very feminine alchemical essence that we still absolutely carry. So if anyone wants to explore that deeper, please have a look at that. Other than that, I will be hosting 2 events that are group events this summer. One of them in June. That one is open to everybody, men and women, and I will be going a little bit deeper into these topics as well. I will be announcing them literally at the end of January, so I don't know when is this coming out. Maybe it will be all out there by then. And the other event is in August. That one is only for the ladies, because we will be specifically working to activate this alchemy. So no weird new agey rituals, initiations, etc. This is deep.
No plant medicine, things like that.
No, none of that. That's got nothing to do with it. I mean, why a woman needs a plant medicine when she is the alchemical vessel? So that's the alchemy. All the solutions that alchemy is based on are literally what men wanted to achieve and access by using when I speak alchemy, and I'm very, very far from, remember that all the new agey teachings, this is also another trap. It's a sort of controlled movement to capture people that are kind of slowly starting to see something and maybe waking up, and they get caught into that fake spirituality. Here we are talking, going back to our essence, going back to our nature, understanding what's been hidden from us. No rituals, no weird initiations, nothing that anybody can do for you instead of you. This is an inner process, and you'll be very surprised, because a lot of things that get addressed elsewhere, as in needing work or shadow work, all that is very much mind-based. Alchemy fixes it like this without ever needing to actually do much. So alchemy, our natural power.
Yeah, no, I'm on board. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much. Like, this was such a cool conversation. And guys, I will put all of Ola's links in the description below. So yeah, definitely check her out. And yeah, I will see you guys later.
And thank you so much, everybody. Bye-bye from the Arctic Circle.